Hello tankers, this is NK33 and I apologize for getting this video out so late, but I've been having internet connection problems which makes accessing a lot of the websites I use for data gathering almost impossible. Everybody has been noticing that we've got a new tank in the premium shop, the M4 Improved, and you can get it with the fully loaded bundle, which includes 100% crew, garage slot, 3,500 gold, 30 days of premium. It also comes with an enhanced gun laying drive, a medium caliber gun rammer, and improved Class 2 ventilation, which, if you look on the Wargaming Wiki, is basically what they recommend, although the suggested equipment is coated optics. They also offer the M4 Improved with 100% crew, garage slot, 1,000 gold, and 7 days of premium for only about $20. So, which one you get, I leave up to you. The real question that comes up is this gun, the tank's gun, is the 75. It's the M3 versus the 76 that's in the top Sherman. But let's take a look at the standard M4 Improved against the stock Sherman and against the top value of the M3 Lee. The M3, all three of these will have the same 75 M3 gun. In terms of damage, penetration, they're all exactly the same. Shell speed, exactly the same. Here's where the big difference lies. The rate of fire of the Improved is slightly less than in the Sherman and is much less than the M3 Lee. We've got 4-second reload time versus 3.8 versus 3. Now, because the M3 has a hull-mounted gun, it gets a higher rate of fire. The accuracy on the Improved is slightly better than in the Sherman, but is less than the Lee. Aim time is the same. You carry more rounds in the Improved. But let's take a look at what happens when you go up to the top values, which is the 76 millimeter M1A1. You do a little less damage. Your APCR penetration on the 75 is less than your standard AP penetration on the 76. Your DPM goes down because your rate of fire goes down, but you can penetrate a lot more targets. Your accuracy is now better than in the 75, although your aim time is less. Now, in terms of the other stats, you've got slightly more hit points in the Improved. Your signal range is better than the stock, but not as good as the top. You have a better speed limit forward and reverse. You're a much heavier tank, though. Your front armor is equivalent on all three. Side armor is better. We'll get into that in the tank viewer. Rear armor is better. The turret armor is better than the top-rated Sherman, but it's the same as the stock Sherman. Let's go back to the top values. Your engine power is better, and your horsepower to weight ratio is better. Traverse speed is better. Climb angle is the same. You are better than the stock M4, but not on soft terrain. The fully upgraded M4 has a slight advantage. View range is the same as the fully upgraded Sherman. Turret traverse is slightly faster. The gun's not as good. Got a little better ammunition. Now, the other thing, we have to go to the Wargaming Wiki. The strange thing is this tank doesn't show up in in the medium tank listing, even though both the Fury and the Ram 2 are there, and it doesn't show up in the premium tanks, which means you've got to get it into the Wargaming Wiki to see some of the abilities of the tank. You literally have to type in M4 improved, which is very strange. So you've got the gun elevation is -10, which isn't quite as good as the -12 on the Sherman. Aim time, the rest. The gun information is here. So it's like they're trying to hide the information on the tank. Okay, let's take a look at the armor. Okay, we're in Tank Viewer, and let's activate the Armor Inspector. And let's call up the M4 Improved. It's right there, just double click. Now you've got no options that you can change, so we've got the tank. Now the 76 millimeters of armor that they talk about is only there on the mantlet, and it's there on the front transmission. The 63 that they talk about is also on the transmission, and it's that machine gun port. Now that is going to be a little deceptive, because this front armor is the 50.8, but if you fire at the 50.8, because of the sloping, you're getting the equivalent of 80 millimeters of armor. But if you fire at that machine gun port, you're only getting 63. So that machine gun port, even though it's got the thickest armor, is still a weakness. Now that 50.8 millimeters of armor covers the front, covers the sides, and the rear of the turret, and it also covers the back of the tank. Now the back of the tank is flat, and that one's slightly sloped, so again, you get behind it, you can fire right through it. Now when they talk about that 63.5 millimeters of armor on the side, it's only the side armor, the lower hull side armor. The upper hull side armor, where people are going to be firing at you, is only 44.5. Now it is angled, so if somebody shoots you straight in the side, it's the equivalent of 48. But that still isn't great. I mean, it's not. Let's take a look at the Sherman side armor. That's 38.1 across the whole thing, and if you fire at the side of that, it's 38 effective, and down here it's 38 effective. So it does have better armor than side armor than the Sherman. Now the other situation is if you get into side scraping, you can angle your tank slightly, and you'll get about 106 millimeters of penetration. Of course, the thing you're probably going to have to do with that turret mounted so far forward is you're going to have to get into reverse side scraping. So basically, you would be having the back of the tank up against a building, and you'd be showing your side armor. You probably want to angle it as much as possible. That'll give you about 100 millimeters of penetration, or 100 millimeters of effective armor. So this isn't necessarily a tank that you want to go brawling with heavies in. And the other thing about it is these side cheeks. Now they are only 55 millimeters of armor, but because of their sloping, you fire at them, and they're the equivalent of almost 200. And as you can see there, it says ricochet. So, if somebody's aiming dead straight at you, they're going to be aiming at this plate, which is 76 millimeters of armor, although because of the sloping, it's equivalent of 87. Whereas in the standard Sherman, you've got that mantelet, and you fire at it. It's about 84. You aim at the sides, these side cheeks. That's about 72. So you're going to have the same strength mantelet, but your side cheeks are going to be a lot tougher in the improved. The tracks are still going to be your 20 millimeters of spaced armor. And on the improved, that isn't going to change. Spaced armor for the mantelet's only 50. And it doesn't have a hole underneath, so you don't have to worry about that. That's just extra protection. Now, all in all, this is a pretty underwhelming tank. The armor is roughly equivalent of the Sherman's. It's got some better sloping, so you may get some troll bounces, but you're not going to be getting, a huge amount of advantage. The real disappointment in this is the 75 millimeter gun. The 75 is the same as you get on the Lee and the same as you get on the stock Sherman, except you're firing slower than either of those two. And your aim is not as good. And that is the real confusing thing about this. How is it improved? If you're a Sherman enthusiast, I'm not going to talk you out of buying this tank, but if you want a combat machine, this is a pretty poor piece of equipment. Slower rate of fire, and while the accuracy is better than the Sherman, it's not better than the M4 Lee or M3 Lee. So I don't see the advantages to this. I don't see the improvement. This may be one of the tanks I pass on. I've already got the Ram 2, and you can still get the Ram 2 from Amazon.com as long as you have somebody who has a United States mailing address. If you can have it delivered to them, they can get you the Ram 2 code. This is the Ram 2 on Amazon. You get the expert pack. And I just literally typed in Watt Ram 2 and it came up to this. And as I said, basically, this is what I would get. I don't know. I know it's not available from Amazon Canada. I don't know if it's available in Latin America, but it is available in the U.S. So if you've got a friend that can receive the code, I'd get the Ram 2. Let's take a look at the Ram 2 in comparison. Now, the Ram 2 has been removed from the general store, but you can still get it from Amazon. It's got more hit points. It's got the same signal range. It's much slower. The armor is comparable. Engine isn't as beefy, but the power to weight ratio isn't too much below. Traverse speed isn't as good, but it's better than the stock Sherman. Terrain resistance is approximately equal. View range is not as good. That's one of the few things that this has over the standard Sherman, is that the top turret on the Sherman, which has the weaker armor, it doesn't have as good view range. Turret traverse is a little slower. But this is where the big difference is. The M4 Improved with the 75 does not have quite the penetration of the 6-pounder, and it doesn't have anywhere near the fire rate. Although with the aim time being the same as the reload time, you don't have to worry about the gun bloom. The 6-pounder on the Ram 2 is a machine gun. You just keep firing and firing and firing, and you're going to tear somebody apart. I mean, as you can see, the DPM on this is much better than the DPM on the M4 Improved. Now, I don't have stats on this on if it's a good moneymaker. And that's one of the real purposes of getting a premium, is to earn credits and also to train crews. But if you're going to be using a bunch of APCR just to penetrate your targets, because you will be facing Tier 7s, this does not get premium matchmaking. Despite what it says here, that it only sees Tier 5 and Tier 6, it's going to see Tier 7s. I don't want to sound like a downer, but I honestly would not recommend this tank. I may get it, but I'm on the fence, and my usual reaction to a tank is, as a proud wallet warrior, is, put a tank in front of me that's even halfway good and I'm going to buy it. This one's it doesn't do anything that the existing Shermans don't already do better. And I've got the Ram 2, and so if you're looking for an American Tier 5 medium tank crew trainer, I'd go the Amazon route and get yourself the Ram 2. It's a much better tank. Well, I hope this has been of use to some of you, and if so, you can give it a like, and I will see you on the battlefield. Bye.